In this episode of Fantasy Island, Isla's secret comes out, and we learn that part of that secret deals with Elaine in a way that's a bit unexpected. And as that happens, the guest of the episode goes on a medieval adventure as a princess, but not the kind she wanted to be. So to start things off, Ruby is at the point now where she wants to open up to Elaine about her relationship with Isla, and she does so, but the more that Ruby tells Elena about Isla, the more she is kind of questioning things in her head. Not just because she has yet to meet Isla, but also because specific things like having a song stuck in her head and things like that, it raises eyebrows for Elena. But at the same time, with Ruby being so happy, that pushes Elena to want to maybe not get back with Javier, but at least to reconcile so that their friendship can be alive in some capacity and they're just not a professional relationship. Unfortunately, though, at this point, Javier is really holding on to all of his anger and hatred over what happened. So while Elena in some capacity is ready to move forward, right now Javier just wants to simmer in his feelings. This leads us to the guest of the episode. One is named Gwen, the other one is Lance. And Gwen's fantasy deals with her wanting to be a princess and just allow other people to make decisions for her life. She's a medical student, very stressed out, and just wants to let go and let other people make the hard choices. Seemingly in her mind, she thought that this meant she was going to have some type of Meghan Markle kind of life, minus the racism and all that type of stuff. And what she gets is becoming a medieval princess whose father apparently bankrupted the kingdom. She's being sort of not really be sold off in order to fortify the kingdom. And it's going to be to a man who really doesn't care about her whatsoever. And to Lance, who is a nobody who she falls in love with because he's just consistent and is a good guy. Now, it should be noted, Lance's fantasy was not to fall in love with a princess and damn near die in the process. Lance's fantasy, since he's a comic book writer, was to live an authentic hero's tale. But in the long run, while he did get to be a hero because he did keep Gwen from getting captured after they ran away together, he didn't get to save people in a way that is this grandeur fashion. If anything, Gwen got to do that using her medical knowledge to help people who were poisoned, amongst other things. But in the long run, even though neither really got the fantasy they wanted, they did both leave with a partner, so not the worst thing to happen. Now, this leads us to a very important part, which is the whole Isla and Elena thing, because, as noted, as we talked about Isla, Elena was kind of raising her eyebrows and thinking a little bit. And the reason for this is, Isla is either a mermaid or a siren, and apparently, Elena's family has a very complicated history with Isla's people. They're needed on the island, perhaps because they have some type of magic that the island feeds off of, but at the same time, because they're sirens, mermaids, whatever, it means they lure people like Ruby, and it's not clear if it's like the mermaids that we've heard of where they eat them, or if they practice drowning them for their own entertainment or whatever, but clearly, Elaine is not very comfortable with Isla having a relationship with Ruby, and she definitely is ready to go to war in some capacity. Now, as for whether the island will let things get that far, it's hard to say, but we always operated on the idea that the island has its own mind separate from Elena, and if it wanted to, it could work against her if it had to. So the highlight for this episode, of course, is finally learning what Isla is. We've been speculating that forever with Mermaid and, well, we haven't really said Siren. Mermaid definitely, but in terms of her being perhaps this magical creature who possibly on more than one occasion has possibly killed a guest, if not lured them to wherever Isla's people are. This leads to, unfortunately, more questions, but at least we're getting answers in the process. And now with Ruby, definitely not in some prolonged fantasy, but perhaps a potential victim to Isla, especially if Isla ever wants to get back at Elena, if not the island in some way. Now we're getting to a point where We're starting to see the dark parts of the island beyond what the island's fantasies are, or the way it treats guest fantasies, and it brings a certain level of intrigue. The second highlight for us is that Javier was against a quick resolution between him and Elena, and the main reason why I appreciate that is that it allows Javier to not be this perfect good guy. Him wanting to simmer, him wanting to continue to hate Elena longer, it means that there's more to him than just being Elena's eventual or past love interest. It means that even though the whole Helene situation was a missed opportunity, that there could be more to him, that there could be plans for him. And while you could definitely say that him not reconciling with Elena now is just kind of holding him until they come up with something, at the same time, it also allows you to see that as much as Javier has always operated in this kind of fun, happy-go-lucky way, there is some kind of darkness to him. We're not at the point where we're fully exploring that darkness, especially the darkness which makes him not just flawed but potentially unlikable, but give it time. Overall, we really appreciate this episode for revealing what Isla is, as well as starting a new chapter in terms of explaining how does the island operate. Not just in terms of the magic it may get from mermaids and sirens, but also the complicated relationship that it allows between the mermaids and sirens and whoever it chooses to be the host. And then when you add on what Javier's going through and his beef with Elena, it just gives you, I would say that it makes it so that as much as the guests are one of the main attractions of the episode, it doesn't forget the fact that there's still a lot going on with the people we see from episode to episode. And I appreciate that instead of like some shows, like admittedly The Equalizer, it really makes it so that this show never forgets who you actually came for, instead of focusing on the people who come and go and you probably will never see ever again.